The Assembly Committee on Education will reconvene. I will note for the record that Assemblymember Hanson, Assemblymember Hardy, Assemblymember De Silva, and Assemblymember Hunt are currently absent and excused, present if they do arrive. At this time, we will go ahead and open up the work session on Senate Bill 460. I believe that somebody from fiscal is supposed to come to present this amendment. We are waiting right now on James Malone from fiscal, so if you happen to see this, please join us. All right. We at this time we are going to go ahead and we have opened the work session on Senate Bill 460. And I will invite the fiscal staff to do a walkthrough of the conceptual amendment proposed by Assemblymember Monroe Moreno. Well, I know, members, that this is not a fiscal committee. This has been a part of the ongoing conversations, which is kind of closing down in preparation for session. And so in an effort to make sure that this process is streamlined, we have the proposed amendment that has been updated to Nellis that addresses the remarks that will be presented by our fiscal staff. So welcome for the first time. If you didn't know, I know Brody Lizer is a policy analyst. He's also a singer and interpretive dancer. He told me he was unable to do so today, but if he has time, he will try to think of something before the end of this work session.
All right, good morning, Madam Chair. James Malone, LCB Fiscal for the record. Assembly Member Monroe Moreno did ask staff to come present on the conceptual amendment to Senate Bill 460. Each of the members here should have a couple of handouts that were passed out and have been uploaded on Nellis. We have the Senate Bill table with all the appropriations in it. It looks something similar like this. And we also have the conceptual amendment with the proposed fiscal policy recommendations in the amendment itself. And so I am going to begin by walking through the table that's been uploaded on Nellis for this bill. Currently, Senate Bill 460 as amended that came over includes total general fund appropriations of $135.5 million over the next biennium. $115 million of that, or 115.1 approximately, is ongoing expenditures, and 20.5 million of that is going to be the one-time funding in the bill itself. And so in the table, there is the left column, which is going to be representative of the appropriations that are currently in the bill as amended. And then on the right-hand side for fiscal year 2026 and 2027, there are areas that are highlighted in yellow with recommended changes to the bill itself. And so I'm going to walk through each one of these sections, the amount of funding, and the recommended proposed amounts for each one. For ongoing funding, Section 75, the Early Childhood Literacy and Readiness Account, awarding of grants for early childhood literacy and readiness programs, $50 million would be reduced to $12 million in fiscal year 2027. So this would be a change from an appropriation of $50 million in the first year to $12 million in the second year. Section 75.5, the Department of Education grants for pre-K programs, $50 million in 2026 would be removed from the bill altogether. Section 77, Department of Education personnel to carry out plans to improve academic achievement of pupils by public schools. $41,694 in fiscal year 2026 would be removed in this proposed amendment. Section 77.5, Department of Education grants for transportation of pupils who would otherwise attend low-performing or persistently underperforming schools. $7 million would shift from fiscal year 2026 to fiscal year 2027. Section 78.3, Department of Education to carry out the provisions of the bill and improve the efficiency and delivery of services. $4 million each fiscal year. The change here would reduce that first fiscal year amount from $4 million to $2.5 million. And now that concludes the ongoing changes for that section. It reduces it from $115.1 million over the next biennium to $25.5 million. Approximately. Moving on to the one-time funding, and I'm only going to be covering the sections where there are changes. Section 72, Nevada Institute on Teacher and Educator Preparation, $2 million appropriation in fiscal year 2026 would be reduced to a $1 million appropriation in 2026, but then an additional $1 million in fiscal year 2027. Section 73, School Districts, Charter Schools, Nonprofits, Expansion of Facilities for Early Childhood Education, $10 million appropriation in fiscal year 2026 would be reduced to $4 million in fiscal year 2026, but then an additional $5 million in fiscal year 2027. Section 74, Nevada Registered Teacher Apprenticeship Support Account grants to sponsors of apprenticeships programs in teaching. $4 million in fiscal year 2026 would be reduced to $1 million each fiscal year over the next biennium. Section 78.4, Department of Education, grants to school districts and charter schools for literacy interventionists and tutoring programs. $2 million in fiscal year 2026 would be split to $1 million each fiscal year over the next biennium. And then Section 78.5, the Commission on School Funding, contracting with a third party pursuant to research best practices for adequately meeting the needs of pupils, from $800,000 in fiscal year 2026 to $400,000 in fiscal year 2026. And that concludes the changes in the proposed conceptual amendment for the general fund appropriations in Senate Bill 460. Moving on to, well, before I do that, so the grand total of all the changes of general fund appropriations, it'd be $135.5 million reduced down to $42.6 million in the proposed amendment. Moving on to the next remark, conceptual amendment sheet that was provided to the committee members as well. There are 4 sections that are mostly fiscal policy related. The first one being section 11.5 of the bill is proposed to be eliminated, since this contains language that conflicts with the K-12 education funding bill for the 2025-27 biennium, SB 500, which has been passed by the legislature and signed by the governor. Section 13.5, subsection 3, outlines the methodology for calculating pre-K funding by requiring the adjusted base per pupil amount be utilized to fund each pre-K seat. The proposed amendment would eliminate Section 13.5, subsection 3, which would require the department to utilize the pre-K per seat cost of $8,000 $410 in both fiscal years of the 2025-27 biennium, consistent with the actions of the money committees during the Office of Early Learning and Development budget account closing. Section 14.65 requires the Nevada Department of Education, to the extent money is available, to award grants of money to organizations to provide transportation to pupils who are enrolled in schools outside their zone of attendance. The proposed amendment would include additional language restricting grants to be awarded only to pupils who demonstrate financial need, with the Department of Education determining how a pupil could demonstrate such financial need through regulation. And then lastly, Section 69 creates the Nevada Registered Teacher Apprenticeship Support Account. Subsection 3 indicates the account does not revert funds. The proposed amendment would eliminate subsection 3 and add language to Section 74, which makes the appropriation to the new account to require any unspent funding to revert each fiscal year. Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes my overview of the conceptual amendment.
Thank you. Chair Monroe Moreno, did you have any remarks you wanted to add?
Good afternoon, Danielle Monroe Moreno for the record. I'm Chair of the Assembly Ways and Means Committee. Madam Chair and Committee, thank you so much for allowing us to present the amendment. As the Chair of the Ways and Means Committee, it's a fiscal committee, and we went through the budget, or went through the bill, and knowing that we have very short time before sign and die, we felt it best in the amount of time that we had to present, since you all had heard the bill, to present the changes, the fiscal changes to the bill here today, so you could all hear it. And I think that's about it.
Members, any additional questions in regards to these updates? I just wanted clarification because I've heard this conversation multiple times today. So I just want to confirm that the funding for open enrollment transportation is included in this budget. And then I know that in the original bill that we received, SB 460, it would have actually been $3.5 million each year of the biennium. But because a program of transportation is not going to be set up until the second year of the biennium, the second fiscal year of the biennium, the proposal is to ensure that there is $7 million for that second year for open enrollment. Is that correct?
Danielle Monroe Moreno, for the record, yes, that is correct. That $7 million was moved to the second year of the biennium.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarification. Members, any additional? Assemblymember Mosca.
Thank you so much, Chair. I just wanted to thank fiscal staff and Chairman Romer right now. I know it's not easy this end of session and with our budget, so we thank you for looking at this and finding what we can do. And so my question is actually for legal, if it's okay, Chair, for the section 11.5. I know we talked about it, but I think it'd be important to get on the record about why that's a legal conflict.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Asher Killian, Committee Counsel. So in SB 500, which was the K-12 funding bill for this session, there was a provision in Section 7 of that bill to create some certainty regarding how pupils are classified as at risk for the purpose of the at-risk weight in the funding formula that uses a certain method for the 2 years of the current biennium, which is reliant on this idea in NRS 387-1211 that it is a quartile of pupils that are captured, so the bottom 20% of pupils. And since the change in the bill currently in that section would change it from quartile to percentage, that would allow for a percentage other than 20%, which would conflict with quintile. Sorry, did I say quartile? Yes. I'm sorry, quintile. That change would conflict with the language that's already in the K-12 funding bill that has been signed by the governor. So this change is for the current biennium to ensure that this bill remains consistent with the K-12 funding for the upcoming biennium without creating a conflict with the bill that's already been signed by the governor.
Thank you. Members, any additional questions on this? All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And then we'll go ahead and move on. We'll continue on with the work session. I'll pass it to Ms. Lower.
Thank you, Chair. Kelly Lower, Committee Policy Analyst. In addition to the amendment proposed by Assemblymember Monroe Moreno, there is an amendment for this measure proposed by Assemblymember Torres Fawcett, which makes several technical changes to the bill, and it's included in the work session document. Additionally, Senator Canizaro, in consultation with Nevada's Department of Education, proposed an amendment with technical changes to the bill, accepting provisions in the proposed amendment that relate to appropriations. This is attached to the work session document, and it was outlined earlier today in the hearing. And there's an additional amendment to revise certain provisions in Chapter 388G, Alternative School Choices of Nevada Revised Statutes, which is also attached to the work session document. Thank you.
Thank you. And given the extreme amount of interest in open enrollment today, I just want to clarify too that with this language, we are just removing any existing language that already exists in AB 533, which should be voted out of the Senate shortly. But we are maintaining language that would, what number is it? Oh, right here. We're retaining language that prioritizes open enrollment for students at 1 and 2 star schools that demonstrate need. So just wanted to make sure that that was on the record, that that is still very much in existing legislation, as well as in this bill. And so the two work very well together. Members, any additional questions? Assemblymember DeLong?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to know who is proposing the amendment to NRS 388G?
Thank you. Assemblymember Torres. Oh, I'm not. That was, yeah, I'm not on the. I was stating my name for the record. That's from Senator Canizaro.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
And that was actually a part of like some of the language that State Superintendent Canavero had talked about earlier today too. Members, any additional questions? Doesn't appear there's any. At this time, I will entertain a motion. Would it be? Motion to amend and do pass, including the language from fiscal as well as the language in the packet in front of you all today. The motion from Assemblymember Koenig. Do I have a second? I have a second from Assemblymember Hunt. Any further discussion? Assemblymember Lewis-Hatch.
Thank you so much, Chair. I poured through this bill, which we just received yesterday, and there's a lot to digest in here. I think there are some really good things in here. Teacher apprenticeships, educator protections, redefining at risk, and trying to figure out how to direct our funds. But I have a lot of concerns, most especially about the state takeover of schools, schools being controlled by a 5-member board, one of which is the governor, who is not an educator, and punishing our schools rather than preemptively helping them. And so, I think if we had more time, we probably could have worked to get a much, much better bill. We don't have that time. So unfortunately, even though I appreciate the work that the chair and others have done, I am going to be a no on this bill.
I don't believe I see any further discussion. With that, we'll go ahead and move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. I have 2 nay, Vice Chair De Silva and Assemblymember Lewis-Hatch. With that, this motion does carry and pass. I will assign the floor statement to myself. With that, we have already taken public comment for today, so this meeting is adjourned.